We're just letting Jamie get it up and running on other platforms. We stream this in the private Facebook group and some of our other private groups. Remember, this is just for our AMZ Insiders community. This will be recorded and placed in your membership area if you want to watch it over and over again. Oh, Jamie's back.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. So I think we're good to go. So yeah, I'm excited for this, Yulia, that we will we've been talking some sourcing. Last week's we did the fundamentals of sourcing, and we've done some other specific topics, but yeah, I'm really interested. I know you've got a ton of expertise with yourself and your company. So yeah, I'd love to hand it over to you, and I appreciate you taking the time to join and share your expertise with our community.
No problem. I believe in value overload, and in the rule of, if you give good things out to the universe, they will come back to you in threefold or hopefully five. So yeah.
Awesome. So I'll make sure. Can you? I think you should be able to share too. Do you have anything? You should be able to share a screen if you need to.
Absolutely. Do tell me if you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
And that reminds me to, I'm going to shrink my screen down real quick just so it records properly here too. But yeah, all good.
Well, I'm ready when you guys tell me to be ready, sort of speak.
I will, let's give it a few seconds here while I just do that. There we go. I shrunk my screen down. Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and officially begin. I like the title, the Sourcing Hacks and Sourcing Alternatives to China. So this is an awesome topic. And Yulia, go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure for sure. Definitely something worth of getting up so early. So today I would like to talk a little bit about, as the screen says, the sourcing hacks and sourcing alternatives to what is out there to China. So to quickly explain to the people why am I qualified to talk about this in the first place, is we are Amazon sellers ourselves with two brands. We launched in 2014, so not a lot of people, have been in the market as long as we have. One brand is completely sourced out of China, and the other, but we're kind of expanding it to be sourced in Europe because we mainly sell in Europe. And the second brand is actually all made in Germany. That was intentional because of the shipping costs, because of all political situation and what people prefer to buy on the market, what kind of products. So I've been in this business for almost 18 years. I spent myself 9 years in China, living there, then Singapore. Then me and my better half, we did the motorcycle trip from Singapore to Germany on one bike, where we also explored many factories on the way. And we've been located in Germany since 2017. We started the company, or I actually started the company, Zignify Global Product Sourcing, a few years back when Corona hit, because a lot of my old customers, they were in huge trouble. Corona started, factories in China are closed, they're literally crying. Grown men who make millions of dollars are calling and crying, saying, what are we gonna do? Because they needed to find alternatives to the factories that they had. And this is exactly what we provided and we started doing. And in about 2 years, we grew the team from, me to almost actually right now 50 people. So we had quite a, high growth and expansion wave, which we're still riding, and we're being very, very careful with this. So I'm not going to tell you about our services or anything like this, because this is not what I want to share during this call. What I want to share with you is as much data, useful data as possible. So whether you or your teams, depending on the size of your company, can implement different sourcing hacks and optimize your supply chain. because in today's day and age, I know how slim the margins on Amazon, and if you're selling online through a Shopify store, how slim your margins can be. So we need to make sure your margins are getting higher, not slimmer. In general, over the years, if we count everything throughout the years, we've sourced over 3,000 different products, saved tons of money to our customers. And tons of our projects are actually happening in China. When we started, only about 50% of our projects happened outside of China. Currently, it's about 70%, because most of the people, they prefer to diversify. And this is like, with your businesses, you shouldn't put all eggs in one basket, right? You should diversify to different areas, because if Nancy Pelosi will fly, to Taiwan again, that might cause additional issues, or another war starts, God forbid, or something like this. So we need to make sure that you have possibilities of not shutting down your business and not being out of stock, because this is one of the worst things the Amazon seller can actually have. So I'm going to jump right into this, and I'm going to talk about the challenges that most of you already do face or might potentially face when you source your products out of China, right? If we're specifically talking Europe, or we're talking USA, or even surrounding countries, like Mexico, or even in Canada, you can source products there as well. Of course, one of the bigger issues is actually the higher MOQs, because those guys are purchasing. When we're placing our orders with the manufacturers, we need to remember and be aware, and not everyone is actually aware of this, that the manufacturers, they first need to purchase the raw material from somewhere else as well. And when they do, they get the MOQ for this. So MOQs in countries like US and in surrounding areas, everything outside of China pretty much, are usually higher. Most of the factories that you try to cooperate with, they have lower product selection. If you have been producing in China, even for a little bit, you know that one factory that makes, for example, plastics, they can produce anything from a fidget spinner to a kitchen utensil or appliance, right? Because the Chinese factories are so versatile, and they have been working to actually work as differentiated as possible. And this is what I'm talking about, that if one product is not in demand, that they can easily switch to another product, and make sure that they're actually making money. The factories outside of China, they're not as versatile, and they're not as prepared for this, for a few different reasons. First of all, they don't have the machinery, and they need to purchase that machinery, and that takes time, and that takes money. They also do not have people who are actually experts in running the machinery and developing those products. And just, from the engineering standpoint of view, or from the development standpoint of view, they don't have the necessary knowledge. I give you a wonderful example. One of our customers, she's Swiss, but she has family in Germany, and she was trying to produce a lamp, like a lamp for your child to have it in a room. Beautiful, beautiful design that she created on her own. Her family in Germany actually owns a manufacturing plant that makes lamps and wooden furniture, right? Everything out of wood, wooden furniture. And she, of course, went to her family saying, hey, guys, I would like to produce this. And they said, we can't really do this. She's like, why? You're literally making lamps. It's wood, it's, light, electronics together. They're like, we can't do this because your lamp has an LED strip, whereas what we're used to doing are, just those screw-in light bulbs. So we do not have the know-how of how to properly attach an LED strip to a piece of wood. So this was the reasoning behind them saying, sorry, no, we can't do this. And this is, lower product selection and less possibilities of innovation. They are changing, but they're still less flexible in comparison to the Chinese. With the Chinese, for example, you guys probably know, you say, hey, I want this on top of that with different color, and it should smell like this. and the factory will say $5. We will have a $5 increase in price or something like this. Whereas if you communicate with factories, even in US, the developmental processes take a lot longer. If you're sourcing outside of China and outside of US, even let's take Mexico, right? You will have possible problems of language barriers. As much as people think that all the people from Mexico can speak English, that is absolutely not true. When you actually start going to Mexico and you start communicating with the factories, it is an absolutely different story. And I know there was Amy here also giving some knowledge about Mexico, and sourcing there. I'm sure she will confirm this because, the factories are not adept. You have larger factories and larger manufacturing communities where you go there and they produce, let's say, for Walmart or something like this. And they will have people who speak English. But what we found when you go to the factories that are smaller, that can handle smaller capacities, that will agree for smaller MOQs, it is very unlikely that they will be speaking English. So you need to make sure that you speak Spanish, right? And this goes for a lot of factories across the globe. Germans, they do not like to speak English. French, oh my God, this is a long-standing history that please, do not speak English with us, speak French. And this is important if you want to produce cosmetics, if you want to produce perfumes, etc., right? Even supplements. Higher prices, of course, we all know, but we know that higher prices, they even themselves out almost to the T. Because the import taxes, especially when we're looking at China, especially when, for the products that have the Trump tax, that they even themselves out and you actually have the edge. Let's say you started producing your product in the US instead of China. Yes, your price is higher. Why? Because the labor costs are higher in US. People actually get paid more money, right? Because apartments are expensive, food is expensive. In the hindsight, in comparison to China, for example. So of course your prices are higher, but you are not paying the shipping, right? The same shipping that you would be paying from China. So your shipping cost is down, your shipping time is down, which is extremely important in your supply chain planning processes. And of course, you don't have the import tax, which can be 25% due to certain political situations. So the good news is that those practices are being changed literally as we speak. In the last few years, we have seen a dramatic increase in the effectiveness of the factories in US, in Mexico, and in other countries, because the local governments finally started to understand that China's time is not over. Don't think about it like this for sure, but that there are opportunities for further industrial and technological development for the countries, and this is where they can make additional money. And no one, of course, no one says I don't like money. Everyone kind of likes money. So in a lot of countries, you see a different trade meetings, right? Meetups between the governments and the local businesses, where they encourage them they give them grants to do certain things. So for example, they can have lower MOQs. For example, they can buy new machinery so they can produce the products for you that you want, produced. So factories are adjusting, they're implementing and developing more products. Lower shipping costs can be done as well because they start to work with a lot of local talent, a lot of local transportation companies where they can optimize the shipping costs. Faster deliveries, of course, I already mentioned. This is one of the advantages. And additional USPs that you will have. Come on, it's pretty obvious that when you have on your product, a writing that says made in USA, this looks a lot better than made in China. And we all know this. It doesn't mean that China doesn't produce goods that can't be great. They can. Because I have personally been to the manufacturing, to the production lines where Chanel and Armani and Gucci and Versace and Converse, where they produce. It all depends on the craftsmanship, and it all depends how much you want to pay for your product. So this I pretty much mentioned, on the higher level, sourcing in China, yes or no, and outside of China. Outside of China, one of the additional things that you can, of course, not only claim, but actually implement is a sustainability factor. So if you're selling in US and there is a possibility of you finding a factory that manufactures in US, I do truly suggest you do this, because sustainability factor is increasing like a wildfire. We see this from a lot of our clients and a lot of industry coaches, and just from the sales perspective on Amazon, that sustainable products are gaining momentum, and it's just the beginning, right? And when you can decrease the CO2 by shipping within the country rather than shipping from thousands of kilometers away from China, do this. So these are the basic things. Do we have also one of the things that I'm mentioning for sourcing in China? This is the copycats, right? A lot of people are worrying when you develop a product, when you have a functional patent for it, or you have a design patent for it, they're afraid that even with that, the Chinese are going to come in and copy it. Absolutely, that is a possibility, right? And there is pretty much nothing you can do about this. You can sign NDAs, you can send lawyers against those people, but it's not going to change anything. But do we have experience when this has happened outside of China? Absolutely. We have seen in the industry that it's not only the Chinese, but factories in some developing nations that they but they do copy the product. They do a little bit tweaks and tweaks over here, and they release the product. So my point being is just because it's outside of China, like it's US, do not let your guard down. Make sure to still sign an NDA with the NDA or NNN with the manufacturers that is specific for that country, because every country has little tricks about it. So consult a lawyer. They're not so expensive to come up with an NDA, because this will protect your product in the future. So good news, just for those of you who do not know, that the sea freight from China, for example, has dropped substantially in comparison to even a year ago, right? Has this happened to the sea freight from other countries? Not so much. So if you're manufacturing, let's say in Turkey, in Pakistan, or in Europe, the prices have not had a substantial change in comparison to last year. The same goes for Mexico. Mexico last mile trucking, also not too many differences. This is just a quick overview. So when you are looking to source products outside of China, and even in China, to be honest, but we're talking specifically outside, you need to make sure that you are considering not only the proximity to the market where you actually sell, right? So this is the first thing, because you will need to calculate what are the shipping costs, what are the import costs, but also you need to understand what is the global forecast for that particular country in the next 2 to 5 years. Because if you have currency devaluation, if you already have a political turmoil happening in those countries, it might be better to avoid going there. So here I'm just giving an example of Turkey, right? There were interest rate cuts. The lira, the local currency, has devaluated against the dollar, which in accordance to the government will boost the production and exports, because basically, you will be able to buy more for the same amount of money. But at the same time, the government has said that they're increasing the minimum wage, right? So people will get more money for the same hours that they're working, which might just even out the product or the product costs for the products that you're potentially purchasing. So this is extremely important to look at, and it will take you 5 minutes or your team to see what is happening within a certain country. Why do we need to do this? When you're going to source in China, it is, in comparison to other countries, relatively easy to set all of the processes up. Whereas in other countries, it takes longer in terms of how long it takes you to find the factory in the first place, how long it takes you to get the samples and to set up the first production. After the first production is set up, everything is relatively the same to China. About 30 working days, normal production cycle for one product. But the initial setup, process of receiving quotation and finding and verifying the factories, this is very different. This is pretty much double the time of what it is in China, and you need to be a lot more persistent. I will tell a little bit more about this later. So yes, please make sure to literally open Google and look at what is the economical situation within a particular country that you want to source at right now. And what are the forecasts, because it might affect your decision whether to go to this country or not. So what to watch out for when you're doing sourcing outside of China? First things first, you need to get enough proposals. And to be open and honest, this goes both for China and for outside of China. On average, when do sourcing outside of China in what we call ROW, rest of the world, for one product or one category of products, we usually reach out to about 60 manufacturers. 60 is a good number. Why? Because 30 will respond and 10 or 15 might potentially give you prices. And you need to make sure that you have a very good spread of the prices that you receive, because in that process, you can find other potential opportunities for your product. Maybe cheaper material, but that still provides the same quality. Maybe an optimized process of manufacturing your product. And yes, you can go to one manufacturer and ask all of those questions, but in my experience, it doesn't work that way. You need to talk to various different manufacturers, and they will have many different ideas, especially if they're located in different countries. Let's say you're sourcing a textile product and you decided to explore Mexico, you decided to explore Pakistan, and you decided to explore Turkey. They will all have different machinery. They will all have different ways of manufacturing. So you need to see what they have to offer. So please contact a decent number of manufacturers. I know it's not easy. I know it's very hard, and you need to actually talk to them. So sending one email does not work. I will tell a little bit about this later. Good amount of manufacturers. Manufacturer trading company. A lot of people say, do not work with a trading company, bad, bad, bad. And they say the same thing when it goes to sourcing outside of China. My personal opinion, sometimes it's okay to work with a trading company because they can give you a price that is even better than the manufacturer. How do they do it? They do it by volume, because they work with one manufacturer and they send so many orders towards this one manufacturer that they can get a better price. Make sure that you know the final factory for sure. Make an agreement with this trading company / manufacturer that you have access to the final company, not a problem. So you can monitor the quality, so you can have this, not feeling, but that you can have this actual control over your production. But trading companies are not always bad. In addition, if you're producing products, for example, that are related to cosmetics, that have, different types of jars, bottles, pipettes, such things like packaging wise, it is wonderful to work with the trading companies in the beginning, because if your quantities are very small and the factories are refusing to work with you, the trading companies on the ground, let's say in US, they have the capacity to sell to you smaller quantities. Yes, it will be at a higher price, but then you can test your product out and see if it sells or not. So don't always say, oh, trading company very bad. Trading company not always very bad. From our perspective, we also prefer to work with the manufacturers, but with our negotiation strategies, we can get the prices down. When Amazon sellers do the sourcing themselves, they don't always necessarily have the knowledge to get with the negotiation the prices down. So trading companies might come in handy in this situation. Please background check your manufacturers that are located outside of China, especially when we go to countries like Mexico, Pakistan, on the South African continent, on the African continent, countries like in South Africa, Zanzibar. So yes, developing countries, even in India and in Bangladesh. Developing countries, yes, they tend to be a little bit more sneaky, and sometimes they try to cheat you. So do check their business registration, look at their export license, and don't just check it. Oh, look, they gave me a piece of paper that says that they have the registration valid until the mid of 2024. No. That is not enough. I can make you a piece of paper like this in 10 minutes and show it to you. It doesn't mean it's valid. So there are tons and tons of different organizations online, right? Government organizations that are specific to that country that you're sourcing in, where you can check the validity of this company with their certification number, with their export license. And you can simply, Google those organizations and check if they're actually valid or not. And the same goes for the certification for their products, right? For example, let's take an easy example of textiles. If the OECO-TEX is valid, right? You can literally check OECO-TEX certification validity, booms, and you can, with the number, you can check if it's still valid or not. Because on a lot of occasions, even outside of China, what we have seen is that, oh, yes, we have the certification. Here it is, take a look. And the next thing we know, we're checking everything out, and it expired about 6 months ago. Oh, yes, we were so sorry. I forgot to show you here. We're renewing it, and the date is from today. They started the renewal process. So you need to be very careful with this as well. When you're sourcing outside of China, there are very few resources that you can use, in my opinion, in comparison to Alibaba and Yao Liu Papa 1688. There are very few resources that you can use in order to actually find the manufacturers. And when you do find them, to kind of veto them. The first thing all of us do is we go on their webpage and we see how progressive it is, how good or how bad. One thing to remember is bad webpage is not always a bad company. I give you, again, a wonderful, wonderful example. They are sellers and they're manufacturers. They have nothing to do with Amazon. This is a company in Germany, and they are the second largest manufacturer of toys in Germany. And they sell retail, right? You will find them in most of the supermarket and the larger stores. They're not so big online. Old school company. Their webpage is something that, escaped from, I don't know, mid and 90s, something like this. It is complete. It's just ridiculous. But it doesn't mean that they're a bad company. They're just a company who doesn't have a huge focus on their online presence. So it is still worth talking to those companies. Some of them, they didn't hit the era of digital innovation, and that, there is online, you can actually sell through online. Some of the factories, they have an idea of Amazon, right? But they do not understand how much people are actually making through selling on Amazon. So when we go to those manufacturers, whether they're located in US, it's a little bit easier because in US, Amazon, it's just the whole population is using it. And people who have the factories, they have the idea about Amazon in the first place. Whereas if you look at Europe and some other countries, they do not understand the volumes that go into, some of the Amazon sellers have. Some of them sell for $200 million per year. So when you tell those numbers to the factories, their jaw kind of falls off and they're like, okay, yes, we would love to work with you. Here are lower MOQs for you. So do not be afraid of bad websites. Communicate with the people, see what they have, because they might have some hidden gems that other people might miss simply for the reason because they had the first impression. It's like judging the book by its cover, right? And they went and decided to go with someone or something else. Flexibility and communication. Make sure when you're talking to the factory that they have a certain amount of flexibility. Because if the factory is not there to cooperate with you and to sometimes make certain, let's call it sacrifices, then it might be extremely hard for you in the future to develop with them and to manage your production, right? This is like a relationship. This is like when you have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a marriage. You need to have a certain amount of compromise. Sometimes you need to give, sometimes you kind of need to take, for the lack of a better word. So you need to make sure that the factory is flexible and they have a very good communication. But I think that's pretty obvious, because if you have a person who is not there for you when you need them, ask to change the person. Don't be afraid of this. You are the customer, you have certain level of influence, let's put it this way. So if the person that you're communicating with on the side of the manufacturer is not good, ask them to change it. If they're saying, oh, there's no one else, okay, go on LinkedIn, find the owner of the company, send a message to them directly and say, hey guys, I'm not extremely happy. What can we do about this? All right. Another thing, extremely important thing to mention is also regarding to the webpage, not everything will be there. Most of the factories, to be open and honest, unless they're literally focusing on private label, and they are trying, their major sales channel is actually through their webpage, where people can come and choose something like print on demand with the t-shirts, right? Choose something, put their logo, and they don't even need to talk to someone. If they're not doing this, it's very likely that not everything that they have will be listed on their website. So please make sure to have a general conversation with them, because most likely if you're launching one product in a certain category, you will be launching a complementary product or just a general product within the same category. So it's important, ask questions. Don't be afraid of, of asking questions. You're not doing anything wrong. You're trying to build your business. I'm saying this because I see that a lot of sellers, and big ones as well, sometimes they forget to ask the basic things. So what else to watch out for? Licenses and certificates and registrations. I've already mentioned it, and this goes for the products as well. When working with sourcing agents or sourcing companies, if you're not doing things on your own, a lot of companies, they work in a way where you have to place an order through them and you pay percentage on the order, and you have no idea who the factory is, where they located. And this doesn't only go for China anymore. This goes for across the globe. I know companies like this in Turkey, in India, in Mexico. From my perspective, from a perspective of a person who is also a seller, this is not the type of service that I like to use. I like to have full control, or at least, try to have the full control of what is happening on the side of manufacturing. It doesn't mean you need to micromanage. No, it means that at any moment in time that you would like to do something different, to come to the factory, to communicate with the boss, anything, that you have that opportunity, right? Your sourcing agents, they can still do the work, not a problem, just pay them, but that you should have the opportunity of communicating with the factories. I have seen situations where people did not have that opportunity, and they lost a lot of, not lost, a lot of money, a lot of additional money were taken away from them because the agent took an extra commission on top, schemed, got the bribe a little bit here, a little bit there. And yes, factories outside of China also try to bribe sourcing agents and sourcing agencies. We had companies in Italy who said to us, hey, we found them, we verified them, we did the sample, everything was great. And the customer placed an order for mass production with them. And then they came to us and they said, hey, we would like to say thank you and give you some money, and so in the future, you will bring some more customers to us. We said, sorry, guys, we don't work in such a way. We don't believe in that. We got paid by the customer. Our customer is like, our family. We did the work for them, and this is enough. So please make sure that you do have that access to the factories and that you see the number of offers that they actually receive. Don't just look at the end result. look at the other offers. The reason for this is you can have a backup from those companies and you can see what countries have been explored, right? Offers versus reality. This again works very similar to China. Make sure to check the mass production before it actually leaves the factory. Because again, if it is produced in the USA, it doesn't mean the product will be perfect. Because other than the machines, there are people at the manufacturing facility on the production line. And sometimes people are happy and sometimes people are sad. Sometimes people are just not good people, and they're not looking after what they're doing. So there can be, bad things happening with your manufacturing, with your mass production. Your sample might have been perfect, but it doesn't mean your mass production will be. Again, one perfect example is a customer bought in Germany. The order value was over 150,000 euros. Sample was amazing. It was perfect. And when he went into mass production, he was too cheap to invest another 400 or 500 euros to check the quality of the mass production. He pretty much had to throw out half of the products because they were completely unusable. And there was a clause with the manufacturer that after the products leave the factory, there is nothing basically you can do about it. And this is from a German factory. And, he didn't do mass production. He didn't do quality control for the mass production. So yeah, he lost almost 150 grand. But not only that, he had to dispose of the products properly. So he had to pay additional 8,000 euros to dispose of them in an appropriate way. And the factory said, guys, you had an opportunity to check the mass production. You didn't do anything. So he was, not a very happy camper. Where to produce? My suggestion, try to produce, if there is an opportunity, try to produce closer to where you sell. So if you're selling in Europe, try the region. If you're selling in US, try the region. A lot of our, customers, they start to produce, the ones who sell in US, they start to produce in Europe as well, because the shipping is faster. So you save about 3 weeks all in all, and a little bit cheaper as well. Again, do not marry a stranger, right? I've mentioned this, that you need to build relationships with your manufacturer. And this is extremely important when it comes to manufacturers who are working outside of China. You are Amazon sellers. You are trying to build an empire. Maybe later flip that empire and sell it, or just keep it going within the family. If you're given an opportunity to the manufacturer to understand where are you going, what are your plans, you're more likely to get better MOQs, better prices, and some compromise along the way. Again, an example, a company in US started to manufacture private label cosmetics. When they started, they only could afford smaller MOQs, and of course, the prices were a little bit higher. They found a small factory in US, and they told them, guys, these are our plans. This is where we want to be. Here is Amazon. They even showed them the sales numbers from other Amazon sellers with Helium-10. So the manufacturer has the understanding of what the potential capacities can be. Fast forward 4 years later, this particular seller last year made about $28 million in sales. And that factory had built an additional manufacturing facility, an additional building, just to accommodate them. So they grew hand in hand together. And this is the potential that you need to explore with your factories. Guys, the growth can be exponential. We can grow together. If we grow, you grow. But in the beginning, we need some help from you. And factories, on a lot of occasions, when you're trying to build those relationships, they are very, very positive. So for those of you who are interested, which products can you source in US or in the Americas? Which products can you source in Europe? You can take a screenshot. You can take just a picture. This is a tiny fraction of the products that you can actually do. And these are just kind of, a lot of them are more of categories rather than products. Food and supplements, I mean, that is an obvious choice. I personally wouldn't go into food and supplements myself unless this is something extremely specific. Cosmetics, wooden products, furniture, toys. You can go to countries in South America. You can even produce this in the US. All depends on what product category specifically you're in, or what product, and what is your sales price, right? Textiles, you have a lot of chemicals. I love chemicals because they have a little bit of a higher barrier to entry, because you need certification here, certification there, so not all of the people are kind of rushing into this because they're afraid of all of those certifications. But chemicals for home and garden, against mold, I don't know, car cleaners, rim cleaners on your car, on your tires, and things like this. Art supplies, canvases, brushes, even the books in which, color by number and all of those things. This can be done in the US and in the surrounding areas. Packaging, when it comes to product packaging, when it comes to glass packaging, right, for your product, also can be done in US. The manufacturing facilities are located there, and of course in the surrounding areas. Also, I mean, again, the list is endless, and I think I have a bit of a better list later down the line. From the host side, they need to stop me when I need to be stopped, so I don't run over the time so much. But
no worries, you're doing. Yep, we're in good shape. We're at like 45 minutes in, so, but yeah, no worries. This is great.
Okay, so some of this information I have mentioned throughout the talk, but again, just in case some I didn't. So 10 hacks that we usually use and we suggest to the people who are doing their own sourcing to, to make sure that you guys on the right track. Contacting 30 manufacturers or 60. For China, again, contact 30. Outside of China, contact 60. It's a very good number. We have tested it out. It works well. Contacting only from the existing database that you already potentially have, or maybe some of your fellow Amazon sellers have shared some information. No, do not only always go for the same manufacturers. They might be verified. They might be very trustworthy, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a backup. That's the first thing. And secondly, it doesn't mean that there are better manufacturers out there. You should always strive for, I don't like the word perfection, but you should always strive for something better. It's like your Amazon listing. Or our Amazon listing in particular, every year we look at it, okay, the photos, they already look old. And in Germany, it's a whole different game when it comes to Amazon and the A+ content and photos and things like this. Every year we pretty much change photos because the old ones, the font looks bad, the color is no good. So the same goes with the manufacturers. You need to make sure that your manufacturers are not only developing products for you, but they're developing themselves within the company, that they strive for innovation and that they can offer you that innovation and that experience and expertise. So if you have someone, that's awesome, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't contact a few more. Where to potentially find those manufacturers? I think this is a question that quite a few of you would like to ask. If we're talking, let's say Europe, it's WLW, it's Europages. So those are kind of the big things that stand out here. If we're talking about US, Thomasnet is a very good network if you would like to sign up for it. But I also suggest you to simply Google, go on LinkedIn, and use YouTube. Also, a wonderful opportunity to go to trade shows, right? Or if you do not have the opportunity to go to the trade shows, literally just Google trade shows for wooden products or for toy products, right? And they don't necessarily need to be in the US, even if you want to produce in the US. Let's look at the case. In February, there will be the largest toy trade show in the world. We have customers from US who are flying to Nuremberg in Germany to attend this trade show, to meet the manufacturers, right? So you don't necessarily need to fly to Germany. You can just go on their website and see who the exhibitors are and go through them and see if any of them are manufacturers of the particular products that you're looking for. So this works very well as well. I mean, and in China, of course, we all know Canton Fair is back online, but there are tons of different trade shows that are specific to an industry or they're specific to a category of products, right? There is beauty in US. There's quite a few actually beauty-related conferences and trade shows, supplements, etc., etc. So this is a very good way. LinkedIn also, from LinkedIn posts you can find, because when manufacturers go to trade shows, they usually post something, oh, we are attending this and that, come and visit our booth. Or there can be podcasts or video casts that can be found on YouTube. So extremely, extremely useful. So these are some of the ways to find the manufacturers. Contact data, I already mentioned. Make sure you have all of the contact data of the manufacturer, and not even only when you're working with the sourcing agent, but also on your own. Why? Because sometimes your contact might disappear. So they might be unfortunately sick, or they left the company and they decided not to tell you, because who are you? You're no one to them, right? Unless you've been working them for ages. So make sure you have the contact data of not only the people that you're working with, but of some other people within the company. So in case this person is not reachable, you can get in touch with someone else. Fixed rate and, versus commission. I've mentioned bribes by manufacturers. Don't allow bribes to be taken, because this will affect the quality of your product. Quality control for samples and mass production. Please, 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 I beg you, please do this. It doesn't matter where you manufacture the product, but spend this couple $100 and it will change your life. How long or how much does it take on average from our side, for example, to get one price? And this is a reminder for yourself. If you're doing sourcing on your own, you need, especially outside of China, you need to persevere. You need to be extremely persistent. For us, usually, let's say US or let's say Europe, to get one price, it will be 3 emails and 4 phone calls to one factory. Why does it take so long? First, you send an email. Directly after this, you call, hey guys, did you receive my email? Is everything okay? You can't just send an email and sit there and wait and think that they're waiting for you to become their customer. No. The problem within the industry, especially outside of China, if we take developed countries, if we take US, if we take, let's say, take Germany, the problem is who are the owners of the factories who are currently, are present on the market. 50, 55-year-old white male who have 2 BMWs in their garage. They have one house they live in. They have another house somewhere, for vacation. They go skiing. They go on vacation 3 times a year. They're okay. They're comfortable. They don't need any more development. They're okay where they are. They don't want more stress, right? And those companies, they because of the attitude of the owners, the companies run in the same way. So we literally had situations where we call the company and we say, hey guys, we have a customer, they're making about 50 million per year. We're looking to find a new manufacturer. They're like, oh, okay, but no, thank you. We're busy right now. So currently, in the next 2 months, we can't produce anything. We're like, okay, fine. We understand this happens, but can we discuss future cooperation? Oh, come back to us in 2 months. And this is just a random salesperson who sits there, right? But the attitude comes from the boss. So in such situations, contact the boss, because they might change their opinion when they hear how much you are actually making and what your plans are. So this is, and there is more back and forth with the companies in US and in Europe, because they want more details. The more detail oriented you are, the easier it will be for you to actually get the price. And this is where it comes to the next point, point number 9, do not contact aimlessly. have as many details as possible. I literally had people who come to me and say, there is a drawing on a piece of paper, say, Yulia, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, we can. But in order to do this, I'm not even going to waste your time and money, because going to the manufacturers without a technical pack is absolutely useless. They can give you an approximation sometimes if you beg them, but most of them, they won't even give you an estimated price unless you have a proper technical pack, proper description, all of the data about the product. So the more details you have, the easier it will be for you to actually find the manufacturer and to get the prices from them. It's like the basic things, but a lot of people, they still don't do this. You can find online the basic, product requirements of what you should send to the manufacturer. I can share as well, like, what are the things that you should always have, that you should present to the manufacturers. The last one, and it is my favorite, and it works across the globe, it is the undercover hack. So basically, let's say you already have a factory with whom you're manufacturing in the US. And you have been trying to negotiate the prices with this particular manufacturer, but to no avail. So, all right, what can you do? You can find a different manufacturer. Yes, you can. And you should always have a backup and see what prices the other manufacturer gives you. But you can also go undercover and get in touch with your manufacturer as a different client, right? So maybe if you're writing an email, maybe your wife, maybe your husband, friend, anyone, they can get in touch with the factory and they can request the prices for similar products. On quite a few occasions, we are able, and our customers are able, to negotiate better prices and get better prices based on, on such action. Why did this happen? Because usually when the manufacturers know your capacity, they know your limit. They know how hard it will be for you to switch from one manufacturer to another, especially if you've been manufacturing with them for a while. Because when we're selling on Amazon, we would like to keep the quality consistent. Maybe there are special things about your packaging that they're doing that no one else can, and they know you, right? So they're playing on this particular familiarity, not to lower down the prices. But when the new customer comes in, especially in today's day and age, when we have recession, and when some of the manufacturing facilities, they will suffer, they will be providing better pricing. Not everyone, it depends on the demand of the particular industry, like wood is skyrocketing, but there are opportunities. So this hack works really well for us. When you come in and you tell them, maybe you're not an Amazon seller, but you tell them that you sell through Shopify, here are your numbers, potentially, or maybe give the numbers that are a little bit bigger, not extensively bigger, but a little bit. And this will help you negotiate better pricing. Again, for us, this worked well and does work well on many occasions. And another hack is tell them that you are not the boss. So when you're communicating with someone on the side of the manufacturer, first things first, try, if it's not your team, if it's you, they're communicating directly, the first thing is never say that you're the boss. Say, hey, I'm a category or product manager of this company, and we're looking to manufacture these products. First things, try to find out as much as possible about your, let's call it, opponent as possible. So you need to know who you're talking to, so you can, I don't like this word, but so you can manipulate that person into what you basically require. And I don't mean manipulate in a bad way. I mean, some people actually make genuine connections, but you can take a look at this person and see who they are on LinkedIn, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever other social networks they are. You can connect with them on a personal level. And if you're genuine, then it's even better, because when we make connections, we're more likely to serve the person with whom we have a connection better than to the person with whom we don't have that connection. So we always research the people with whom we're communicating, because it's important to make sure that you perceive each other on the same level. And this is why we never say that, and we tell our customers, don't say you're the boss, because you can always blame your boss for certain decisions. For example, you're in the midst of negotiations and you're getting almost what you want. Maybe you just need to push your manufacturer just down by a few more cents. And one of the things you can literally and simply say, hey guys, I'm so sorry, but my boss, they say no. They say whether you guys are going to give us this price or we're not going to work. And and I'm afraid that if we won't be able to work with you, that they're going to fire me because I didn't do my job well. And can you please help me out in this, please on this situation, please, please, please. And I will try to help out you somehow in the future. So might be a little bit melodramatic, but again, this works. It works for us at least 9 times out of 10. And maybe it's because all of our colleagues are ladies. So I suppose we can fake cry it sometimes better than the guys. But it works very well for us. And we've negotiated down a lot of prices in such a way. And why to say that someone else is the boss? Because the other person can relate as well, because they're not the boss. Right? They're not, there's someone above them who makes the final decisions, and they can plead your case to their superior. And you can work out good prices in such a way. This information I kind of gave throughout the presentation. So this is like the smallest, scratchiest part of sourcing outside of China. We can talk about this for literally hours because there are so many things that people need to know about this. But first things first, there are tons of opportunities of sourcing outside China. Do not be afraid. If one of the things that you know are what products can be produced in certain countries, just do me a simple favor, go onto Google and literally type what can be manufactured in the USA. USA is the top exporter of which products, right? Or for whatever country that you're trying to explore for your manufacturing possibilities. Because there are so many things that can be done, it's insane. So yeah, I hope this was somewhat useful, and maybe someone has some questions.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really, really thorough around it. So Emmy asks, how does your company ensure the quality of the product you source for a client in China is good?
In China? Hello.
Said yes.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear. So look, the quality of the product in China, again, first things first, you need to make sure the samples are good. So if you're working on your own, all of the samples must be sent to you. This is logic. And please check during the mass production, if possible, right? There are special people who can go to the mass production, to the production line, not only in China, but outside as well. And check the quality during the mass production, and also do the quality control before shipping. So there is no rocket science in there. It all, you send in people, but the problem is finding the good people, right? If the factory is located close to you, my suggestion is to always go yourself, because again, like in China, Guangxi, it's very, very important to make that connection. So yeah, quality control samples during the manufacturing, which not a lot of people do, but if you have that opportunity and you can spare a few $100, do also the mass production quality control during the actual production and before shipment quality control.
Good question, Emmy. Awesome. So, Yulia, what are you going to do with the rest of your day now? Are you going to start your day, or are you going to get some rest? What are you going to do next?
Well, it's almost 4:30, so might as well get up. and make
Oh,
some
look at that.
tea, some more tea and things like this.
Yeah, T, something to help. So Tunji asks, if I find a good company that doesn't really speak English, will Google Translate suffice, or is it better to find a translator?
Google Translate is not bad, but please also look into DeepL, DEEPL. This is they actually have they're better in terms of translation. But honestly, I would suggest getting a person in between. Go on Upwork or go on what's the other one, the Fiverr. Get a translator who will participate with you in the calls. If you're communicating only through emails, translation services like DeepL or Google Translate will suffice. But if at some point, and I do suggest this, you decide to have a call with the manufacturer, better Zoom, because you need to see the people who are you communicating with, then do get a translator. It will cost, some of the translators are like 20, 30, $50 an hour. It's not going to take off too much from you. Yeah.
Good question. Awesome. All right. I think we're going to, we'll wrap it up there. Yulia, really, this is really insightful. And yeah, it's been good to hear you. I've of course met your husband time or two. So
I'm sorry for that.
sorry for that. That's pretty funny. And Sebastian, and actually he's going on the cruise.
Yes, he will be flying out of Germany on the 3rd of February. So he will be on a cruise, and I will be joining the Mexico sourcing trip as well. That's why I'm not going on a cruise. So, and then we will see each other at the Evo Latam in Monterrey in Mexico, which is also a great opportunity, I think, to explore some manufacturers for the people who are present in US as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for some of you, of course, some of you guys are, you know, in the earlier stages, but it's something to look forward to, not this year, maybe next year. You know, some of these events and things that we take part in, you know, I'll be doing the cruise this year I'm speaking on, but yeah, the Mexico trip that Amy talked about a few weeks ago is really great. So maybe next year I'll look to make it over for that as well too. So awesome. Well, Yulia, really appreciate you, especially the time of night. I think for Sebastian, we spoke, I think we moved up the call a little bit, at least, you know, made it a little bit earlier when he presented. So it wasn't quite as crazy, but yeah, that was really impressive. So hope you guys got some really good value out of that, and feel free to share there. I know up on the screen here, again, in terms of contacting you guys, you can just scan that. You know, we do have a partnership with Signify. And so, you know, they are kind of close partners of ours. We always run into them at all the events pretty much that we're at and speaking at. And as you guys can see, they have a lot of expertise. Emmy asked you, what's the average time?
Now I got my US visa, so now I'm going to be in US as well. I just received it a few days ago. So
oh, congratulations. Oh, awesome. Good. Emmy had another question. She asked, what's the average time to source one product for a client for you guys?
Outside, if we're talking in China, from the moment we start, so there are different stages, right? And this is again, if you're not doing sourcing yourself, you should, I'm not saying you're doing sourcing with us, but with any company. So my suggestion is to work with every company at different stages. So stage one would be from the moment you start to the moment that you're ready to place an order for mass production. Right. So in China, this will be maybe including receiving samples and negotiations and stuff like this. So in China, this will be 3 to 4 weeks. Outside of China, it will be around about 5 weeks, depending on the country, depending on the product. Some products are a lot easier, right? If you're going into textiles, this can be faster. But if you're launching, and this goes just in general, if you want to launch a product on Amazon, make sure that you put in about 6 months before your launch that you should start getting your ducks in a row. So I'll give you an example. When we were launching our second product or our second brand, This is an all made in Germany bio aloe vera based skincare for men. It took us from the moment we decided we're going to do this to the moment we launched. It took us about 7 months, right? And this included everything: sourcing, design, marketing, yada, yada, making everything. But specifically for the sourcing side, if you want to launch a new product, please put in at least 6 months. I'm not saying that this will be the time that will be used, but I'm saying that there are vacations, that there are things going wrong, etc., etc. But on average, from the moment you start to the moment you should receive the shipment in China, with all the shipping and stuff like this, in China might take 2 to 3 months. Outside of China might take exactly the same time, because if you're manufacturing in US and you're selling in US, your shipping time is a few days only, rather than 30 to 40 days. So plan ahead, right? Oh, and one thing, sorry, again, I'm telling you, there's so much information that I didn't have a chance to share. One thing, please make sure that when you're sourcing from a certain country, Google, when do they have national holidays? Christmas, 4th of July, I don't know, Day of the Dead, etc., etc., because you need to work around those days. The factories are not going to stay open just because you want them to. So learn the local culture, try to understand them rather than force, because I've seen on a lot of occasions that the foreigners, they try to force their culture on the local entities, and the local people say, you know what, you don't like it, go away. So learn about the local culture and make sure to know when the national holidays are. And they can also vary by state, right? Because in US, for example, in Germany, in different land, we can have different holidays. So it can be a national holiday today in Bavaria, but not in Saxony. So take that into consideration as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, cool. We're going to wrap it up. Andrew says, good to know, makes sense. Paul says too early for, is it apple strudel? Is that the apple strudel, I assume, or what? Is it, and yeah, viewer all says, great webinar. We will get the replay. Yeah, the webinar, the replay will go into the membership area for our members there. So yeah, no problem.
And I can also share the presentation if the people just want to look through the presentation on their own rather than pause and play. I can also share the presentation. There's tons of data in there, and I have some more, but yeah, not a problem as well.
Yep, sounds great. Yeah, Joey will all coordinate. So awesome. Yep. So Emmy says, thank you, using Zignify already. So very cool. Awesome. So awesome. Well, good stuff, everyone. Yeah, this was really great, Yulia, and yeah, look forward to meeting you in person sometime. And yeah, I'm glad. I hope it sounds like a lot of great feedback here. So I hope you guys got a lot of value. And again, appreciate Yulia joining us here and sharing your expertise.
From my side, thank you very much. Again, this is a small fraction. I wish we had half a day or something like this. But one thing I want to tell everyone, please stay very, very positive. I know as an Amazon seller and as a business person myself, sometimes we get down and it feels like there is no way out, but there's always a way out. And you have a community of people that you're communicating with. You have wonderful people who lead you as well. So stay positive, things will get better and you're going to succeed immensely, and everything is just going to be a-okay.
Love it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.